Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Mick Alfany. We continue to get interesting news. There are a lot of significant developments going on. We're going to start with a little fun article here today. This article is on the cryptobasic.com. I hope you all had a fantastic day. I hope you're doing well. Okay. This article is titled XRP Investor Holding Only 500 Tokens Could Become a Millionaire. Of course, this is someone's opinion, but we're going to give it a little bit of a read and see if there's anything significant we can pull from this. I like to know all information and then decide for myself what I believe. It says Pundit highlights 5 potential events. Okay, so we have something here that they're working with. It says here, an XRP community influencer believes investors would only need 500 XRP to become millionaires if certain events in the XRP ecosystem occur. Amid XRP's penchant for solo rally, several industry players, have forecasted astronomical gains for the asset in the foreseeable future. Of course, I'm thinking that this is obviously down the line. And you're going to have to take into the account tokenization of everything, those trillions, possibly accessing a modicum of them. I'm not saying all of the trillions, but a modicum of them, tokenization of everything. Loosening up Nostro, those trillions, wholesale CBDC payments, those trillions, and you just keep taking in a piece of that, and it accumulates over time, obviously, and this rate is going to raise up the price of XRP. So now the XRP also has clarity. They can go after the banks, whether people want to take certain statements that lawyers said or however they phrased it. If people are paraphrasing what the lawyers are saying, it doesn't make a difference. The truth is, they can now go after banks that they may not have had an open line to before. Those banks are going to be reaching out to learn a little bit more about XRP based products, right? The small banks are in trouble. They're getting crushed. You can't deny that. Commercial real estate is crushing them. You have the big banks having a problem with the erosion of bonds, huge bond losses. I have an article up here somewhere we're going to cover in the chapter later about Bank of America's huge bond losses, unrealized losses, right? I mean, you have all these banking problems. They don't want to congeal with the bigger banks. They want to continue to be successful on their own and grow into a big bank themselves. So they're going to need a life preserver, which means what? That there is the possibility that of those thousands of commercial banks, that Ripple or someone building on Ripple could bring them into the XRP ecosystem, which would give them a great advantage over anyone who's not a part of that digital system as of now. Correct? So I'm taking all of that into account. Let's continue on here. It says, so I'm trying to remain balanced and reasonable, but we can still access this type of information and bring it to a more clear understanding of what these individuals are trying to convey. And let me know down in the comment section, do you think it can reach astronomical gains, right? So one such individual is Kenny Nguyen, who believes investors who would only need 500 XRP to become millionaires if certain events in the XRP ecosystem occur. It says here, a renowned crypto YouTuber, okay, Nguyen has continued to champion the narrative that XRP would record massive price gains if the market witnesses some events. That's reasonable. That's that person's belief. I can respect that. And he has events lined up here. It says 2 of these events have already materialized. So, okay, so he got some wins under his belt with 3 left to go. So it says, here it is. They have a picture of the tweet here. Number 1, Ripple victory, check. 2, exchanges relist XRP, check. That's huge. 3, Ripple IPO across stock exchanges. 4, XRP as a bridge currency for CBDCs. That's going to be major. And not just central bank digital currencies, not just those. I said this before. Many of the banks will have their own lesser digital currencies that they will work with for a myriad of reasons. One of them being traceability. They want that control, but it won't be titled as a CBDC. But still, you're going to be moving capital back and forth, payroll, things like that. And that's amongst the small and the medium-sized banks. I'm calling it, right? I'm calling it. I know it's not discussed a lot. Most people just concentrate on the central banks and the larger banks and such. No, they will have individualized infrastructures for their own digital assets, and it probably won't be discussed very much, but it could be significant to that price. Small banks are in play right now. So it says number 5 here. That's just I'm just inserting my thoughts in there. Okay. Number 5, XRP as a U.S. reserve currency. We already have a great relationship with the federal government. You know that. We're on the Faster Payments Task Force, right? We assisted them in a lot of their research. Then you have the Faster Payments Task Force. That's separate. So we'll see how that we'll see how that goes. It says, and yes, and I do think that there is the possibility of using it as a bridge currency, as a connector between them and the BRICS nations, which I have an article coming up in a chapter later, which they're gaining even more power. You're going to need something in the middle. They don't want to use US or Western based systems anymore. That's not going to happen. So what do you have to glue it all together? You have XRP in play. You have XLM there as well. People sleep on XLM. We'll see how the future goes. I personally believe it has a bright future. Those two there, XRP and XLM, are key to the new financial system. There's no getting around it. But, we'll see how everything works out. So far, everything's gone very well. So now here it goes through a few sections. If you want to read all of this, go to cryptobasic.com. There's too many sections for us to go through here. Victory for Ripple. That's one section. Major exchanges relisting XRP. Ripple's IPO. Let's read that one. Speculations of a Ripple initial public offering have recently emerged. Notably, industry players forecast that Ripple could launch its IPO sometime after the conclusion of the SEC lawsuit, as it makes efforts to go public. Proponents have projected conjectures of Ripple's valuation once it goes public. Notably, attorney John Deaton, who represents over 75,000 XRP holders in the SEC lawsuit, predicted a valuation of $100 billion for Ripple. Should XRP, I guess they miswrote here or something. It's like some typos here, but it says, I think they mean Ripple. I'm trying to decipher this madness. I think they mean XRP should hit $2 if Ripple's valuation is $100 billion. I think something like that. Read the section for yourself and tell me your interpretation. This is according to Nguyen, the Ripple IPO should catalyze another XRP price surge. I can agree with that. It says XRP as a CBDC bridge currency. Due to its close ties with XRP, Ripple leverages XRP for some of its products. So we've been hearing a lot of stuff has been coming out of that CNBC interview. I've seen article after article written on it by now, where they're saying that banks will probably use XRP. They're going after the banks, things like that. All right, which is just logical. We don't need them to tell us they're going after the banks. We don't. Articles are nice, and confirmation is nice, but I think logic is better. They're built for the banks. XRP's in the clear. All you need to do is sell the infrastructures or build the infrastructures. The banks can buy it off the open market, off the exchanges. No problem whenever they choose to, which obviously is some future time that they're going to do that whole flip the switch idea if they're actually going to commit to that. So it's logical that they're going to have meetings with U.S. banks now. And the U.S. banks are drowning right now. Drowning, right? So they need a life preserver. I've continued to say this. I'm not a mind reader. I'm using simple equations, simple logic. That's it. All right. So now let's move on here. It says, however, when it launched in May, Ripple failed to put up XRP as a necessary component of its CBDC platform, which is going to change obviously now. That's going to be significant. The company presented firms with an opportunity to use or ignore it. This was due to regulatory uncertainty surrounding XRP, which could discourage some institutions from leveraging it. That was at that time. Now we have clarity. It says, with the recent ruling from Judge Torres, the clarity accorded to XRP would generate more interest from financial institutions to use the asset. That's what we're talking about now. I want to put in another little caveat, a little variable. The fact that all of these central banks are interested in XRP. We're on the advisory board of the IMF. That's a fact. We have a great relationship with the Monetary Authority of Singapore. We have a great relationship with the Bank of England. Et cetera, et cetera. That's going to make the commercial banks take note of us. They've taken notice of us already. And I'll say this. I think there's a lot of truth to what Old Man Crypto, one of our very wise subscribers, Old Man Crypto always leaves a wise comment, just like Keith and Asti, a lot of other people, very wise people on this channel. And Old Man Crypto said, that is not necessarily, I'm paraphrasing, of course, it's not necessarily that they're going after the banks, and I believe this as well. They've had meetings with all of these individuals, all of these banks already. So it might be possible that they're just waiting for non-disclosure agreements to those things to expire. right? And then they can finally speak about things and act a little bit more. I also think it's a matter of specificity of infrastructure, because while you have the basic infrastructures, there's a lot of customization that has yet to take place. I do feel that way. There's a lot of customization because there's been a lot of upgrades. So as those upgrades are happening, they're going to want the best of the best, and you have to keep your product the best of the best to stay ahead of everyone else. It's no different for Ripple than it is for Algorand or Stellar. You have to constantly update, and all the banks are going to want something different. Now, that could take a little bit of time to have all of these different infrastructures and then still maintaining, customizations, and then still maintaining interoperability. That's going to be key. So I'm just throwing that out there as well. Things that are on my mind as I'm reading this. So let's continue on here. It says, the clarity accorded to XRP would generate more interest from financial institutions to use the asset. As a result, Ripple can comfortably position it as a bridge currency for CBDC transactions. According to Nguyen, this move should also help trigger a further price increase. Now, another thing, keep in mind with the whole FedNow system, don't get me wrong. Now, I'm reading that we have multiple, and I made some post about it in the members only section. There's multiple companies that are partners with Ripple that are integrated with FedNow. I think that's only going to increase. And then once again, like I said, just keep in mind the direct relationship that Ripple has with the federal government. That might come in handy later as well. But with the FedNow system, is lacking, is greatly lacking. All right. And that $25 a month, they have a bunch of fees, by the way. They cannot compete with us if they go directly up against us. And I'm not sure that Ripple would want that, but we could dominate them if we wanted to, because we have a better offering. There's almost no fees at all. Right. So, and that escrow would come in handy. You can do the math on that one, right? As far as how money is made. So that could come in handy later. So now, it says XRP is a U.S. reserve currency. Let's see what they have to say about this. Some members of the XRP community believe XRP has the potential to transcend the offerings typical of the crypto ecosystem. No, let me correct that. BlackRock itself said that crypto can transcend any one currency, right? BlackRock believes in crypto. Which crypto are they talking about? Because the interviewer asked them about Bitcoin, and Fink, Mr. Fink, said he didn't want to comment on Bitcoin. So then what other crypto has clarity like that could be global, that could transcend any one currency? It's not Ethereum. No disrespect to Ethereum. Make your money. Ethereum has a bright future. I think they're going to hit a few bumps. They have a lot of competition, a lot of superior platforms with great smart contract capability like Algorand and Hedera, but no shots at, no disrespect to Ethereum. But he's not talking about Ethereum. I believe, my personal opinion, he's talking about XRP. It just got clarity. And all of a sudden, he's talking about cryptocurrency is transcendent, but negated to speak about Bitcoin when it was brought up directly. All right, so let's continue on here. It says they believe the asset could someday serve as the reserve currency for the United States or even the world. Like I said this years ago, that you could utilize XRP as a special currency. I'll leave it at that. A special currency. It doesn't have to take the place of the dollar. It doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be directly backed with gold. It doesn't have to be any of that. And also, I'll say this, it could be a great store of value once that price starts going up. Right? Price is not an issue. Banks buy gold all the time. All of us do. We buy gold all the time. It's at a high price, right? So price means nothing. That's just the reality. We buy platinum, gold, banks buy gold, silver all the time. But anyway, it can be a special currency. The liquidity is going to be key. Why do I say that? There was an interview. I don't know how many of you saw it, and I was going to make this the Stellar section, but there's an interview with Caroline D. Pham of the CFTC. You know, the one that loves Stellar and Danelle Dixon and everyone else, that's paving the way, opening the pathway for Stellar to just dominate everywhere. And Caroline D. Pham mentioned what in that interview that was very powerful and potent. Low liquidity levels. Right. So even the commissioner of the CFTC understand there's low liquidity. This is a year later after the Federal Reserve, one of their head members, also was concerned with liquidity because a lot of what they have was rendered what? Illiquid. How many times did I say that? So liquidity is key. XRP can be a key liquidity ingredient, not just for the US, globally. Remember they used to say liquidity, liquidity, liquidity. Keep your eye on that. Keep your eye on the dollar. It's plummeting value. We've discussed the DXY so many times on here. You've been seeing the correlations, haven't you? DXY goes up, what happens to the market? DXY goes down, what happens to the market? And as the value is plummeting, what happens to the market? So now, I'm going to leave that here. I mean, this is why I like to read articles like that. I know some people get upset immediately. They hear 500 XRP millionaires, they get upset. I don't think like that. I keep a clear mind. This brought up some very interesting thoughts. It's not about agreeing with anyone, but sometimes being analytical of different types of data, it can bring up very good points, very good thoughts. And now I've gained a little bit more having gone through this article. It's prompted some very good, interesting pathways for my mind to take when I'm thinking about the potentiality and the timeline of XRP, because now the deployment of all these things, actuation on these different things, that's going to be significant, right? So now let's move on here to another article, okay? I like that article a lot, actually. So, but let me know. You believe 500 XRP is enough? You believe that? So, this article is also on the cryptobasic.com. They have some very, very good thinking material they're posting today, in my humble opinion. This article is titled 4,096 U.S. commercial banks may work with Ripple as XRP wins. Now, wait, I know that's phrased a certain way to bring in views and clicks. I know. So what I really take from that title is that's how many banks are on the table. You understand? And couldn't be scooped up. We don't need all of them. I think we could take a good swath of them you want to be completely honest. They need a way to save capital, move around and reallocate capital, a way to negate the huge crushing weight of commercial real estate loans that's going to come down on their head, at least 900 of them as of the last data that we were able to get out of the system about which ones were at risk. They need XRP very badly. So I say we could take a good swath of them. I won't say all of them, but that's how many are on the table. And we have a good opportunity here. Well, let's scroll down and see what they're talking about here. It says, according to a Ripple executive, the recent landmark ruling declaring XRP a non-security paves the way for U.S. banks and financial institutions to adopt Ripple's solution for cross-border payments. So they're iterating the same thing that I've been seeing in a lot of articles the last 2 days, right? It's time to start trying to either bring in those U.S. banks or actualize on those U.S. banks and memorandums of understanding if they have them. So there's activity coming is what it means in general to me. All right, so let's scroll down here. It says the ruling is a comfort to the banks. Furthermore, it says Alderati, so once again, Stuart Alderati again. Listen, anything I say, always, I know some people may not have time. Read the articles yourselves, go watch the interview, read the tweet yourselves, screenshot it, investigate it. I'm not here for people to just take my word for it. I'm not here to control people's minds. I said that 1,000 times. I want to spark the minds of the people. That's what I want to do, so that they make decisions for themselves. I'm here to make sure the people have the power themselves. Right? But it's right here. It says Alderati emphasized that the court decision would provide comfort for financial institutions to engage in conversations about the challenges they face in cross-border value transfers, particularly regarding high fees. It sounds like what was paraphrased the other day. I'm going to assume it was a paraphrase about having those discussions with the banks. So the legal officer stated, quote, hopefully this quarter will generate a lot of conversations. So this is a quote. All right. I'm not the one making a quote. It's on cryptobasic.com. All right. It says, quote, hopefully this quarter will generate a lot of conversations in the United States with customers, which are banks. And hopefully some of these conversations will actually turn into a real business, unquote. So this is what they're quoting from Stuart Alderati. All right. Okay. Alderati also revealed that while most Ripple employees are from the United States, its primary business and revenue are from abroad. That we know. Then they have a section here. And once again, I understand the phrasing, I think, is really to bring in clicks to get people excited. It says over 4,000 U.S. banks to use Ripple solution. That's how I'm taking it. So someone else may take it differently, and I can respect that. It says, meanwhile, in a game-changing development, Twitter user Wall Street Bulls highlighted that a staggering 4,096 commercial banks and 576 savings and loan associations holding an astonishing $23.7 trillion in combined assets are set to revolutionize cross-border settlements via Ripple on-demand liquidity. Now, I need a little bit more clarity on that. Like I said, I believe that what this really means, or what this individual is trying to convey, and I can't speak for them, obviously, but I'm just putting out my own thoughts, is that that's how many banks can be accessed, that they can go after the banks now. Now's the time to set them up with on-demand liquidity. That's what I'm taking from that. It says, however, it is important to note that this is merely a projection. Okay, so there you go. Yeah, so it's just projection. All right. From Wall Street Bulls, considering the number of commercial banks in the United States, the extent to which any U.S. bank will leverage ODL remains to be seen. Exactly. But it's still interesting. Those are good numbers to have. And it's very interesting to read such a thing. So now let's move on here. So now this article here is from U.Today, and it's titled "New Twist in Ripple versus SEC Case as Judge Sees Settlement Conference." So even more activity, and I believe that this is going to go positive if this does take place. And there's an outcome to it. I believe it will be a positive one. It says, in a fresh development in the Ripple versus SEC case, Judge Sarah Netburn has ordered both parties to find 3 mutually convenient dates for a potential settlement conference. Netburn encouraged Ripple and the SEC to schedule this meeting 6 to 8 weeks in advance due to the court's packed calendar. A settlement conference is a meeting between parties involved in a lawsuit where they attempt to reach a mutually agreed upon resolution to their dispute, thus avoiding a trial, which I think that the SEC would lose. It says, in the context of the Ripple versus SEC case, Judge Netburn's suggestion of scheduling a settlement conference indicates an opportunity for both parties to resolve the conflict without proceeding further in court. I'm going to go out on a limb here. And I believe that the SEC wants to get back in the win column. I think there is the potentiality that they could shift focus and start going after some guaranteed wins. And there are guaranteed wins out there. I don't know that they want to take the chance against Ripple again, because and I agree with Brad Garlinghouse that I think that Ripple would win once again. And that would not really provide, but it would support the clarity that was already given. I don't know that the SEC would want that, because they couldn't continue to move around like the wild dog, no disrespect, but the wild dog that they have been behaving as, right? You get where I'm going. And they definitely want to, for lack of a better word, get at a lot of other crypto companies that they can. So it says here, Ripple Labs. Okay, then they go into a little bit about the ruling from the Honorable Judge Annalisa Torres. So they're going to come up with some settlement dates and see what comes out of it. We'll try to stay abreast and privy of that situation. Let's move on to another article here. So this article here is also from the cryptobasic.com. Oh my word. They're doing a lot of, they're doing a lot of good work today. So this article is titled "Injective Community Votes to Bring XRP to Injective Ecosystem." Let's scroll down here. It says, the injective community has voted to bring XRP to the ever-expanding injective ecosystem by listing XRP/USDT perpetual pair. This development is expected to bolster XRP and USDT liquidity on the injective protocol and expand available trading pairs. The official injective Twitter handle highlighted the development in a recent tweet calling the public's attention to its significance. Notably, the proposal, dubbed IIP-238, was submitted by an Injective Labs team member, Chris, on July 13th. Chris proposed the idea a few hours after Judge Annalisa Torres declared in the SEC versus Ripple case that XRP is not a security. Details from the draft suggest that, if approved, the proposal will launch a perpetual market pair on Injective with XRP as the base denominator and USDT as the quote denom. The trading pair will feature a minimum quantity tick size of 0.1 and a minimum price tick size of 0.0001. All right, so we have that. So now let's move on to another article here. So this article here is from Cointelegraph.com. More positive activity in the crypto sphere. And it's titled, Coinbase CEO will meet with U.S. lawmakers to discuss crypto legislation. It says Brian Armstrong, the CEO of the United States-based cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase, is reportedly planning to meet with members of Congress to discuss digital asset legislation and related issues. According to a July 17th Bloomberg report, Armstrong has scheduled a meeting with the new Democrat coalition, a group of roughly 100 Democrats in the House of Representatives focused on advancing, quote, innovative, inclusive, and forward-looking policies, unquote. The Coinbase CEO will reportedly speak with lawmakers on the digital asset legislation, as well as how the technology could potentially impact national security, privacy, and the climate. The meeting, reportedly to be held behind closed doors on July 19th, will come amid different proposals in the House and Senate to legislate different aspects of the crypto space. On July the 12th, Senators Cynthia Lummis and Kirsten Gillibrand reintroduced legislation aiming at creating a comprehensive regulatory framework for digital assets, while lawmakers on the House Financial Services Committee are currently considering a draft of a market structure bill. So more positive activity. Let's hope it continues to go well. I think Coinbase will do a good job representing crypto and making sure everything is looking fair for the industry. I hope. I hope. So we'll keep an eye on how all of this progresses, and hopefully it goes well. But right now we're having a lot of good forward momentum. So now this article is from the dailyhodl.com, and it is titled US dollar will lose status as world's reserve currency, says S&P Global's top economist. Let's see what they have to say. So another economist is talking about the fall of the dollar. I've been talking about it for about a year. I think Robert Kiyosaki has been talking about it for a while. There's a few other top economists that have been speaking about it. And you know what's mind-blowing and why I say that? Because so many people continue, even to this day, to tell me, they say, hey, Mick, there's nothing going to happen with the US dollar. It's not going down. And I say, wait a minute. I know you've heard this plenty of times, but this is what I'm conveying to them. I'm saying, wait a minute, but the US Treasury Secretary literally said it's on a downward trajectory. You have the Fed, someone from the Fed, I can't remember who, iterating similar. You have a myriad, a cadre of top economists saying it. So it's not just me saying it. What are you going to do? People, they don't believe it. Let's continue on here. It says an economist at the world's largest credit ratings agency, so it's reputable, says the US dollar's global reserve currency status is now in the process of fading away. And what happens to the dollar when that happens? Not to mention, in August, we have the BRICS meeting coming up. And if the United Arab Emirates joins the BRICS nations, what does that do to the value of the dollar? But let's continue on here. So Paul Grunwald, Standard & Poor's Global's chief economist, said at a conference in London that the dollar, quote, doesn't have quite the pull it used to, unquote, reports Reuters. We also heard that recently from an esteemed individual out of Mexico. It says with a, quote, fragmentation around the edges, unquote, Grunwald says that the U.S. aggressive sanctions on redacted in response to his conflict with the has prompted other countries around the world to begin trading in other currencies besides the dollar and to start rebuilding their gold reserves, something we've been observing for quite some time. It says here, quote, we've got other things happening outside of the dollar world, unquote. Grunwald also referenced the rise in trade being done in the Chinese yuan and the low financing offered by Chinese banks like the Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank and the New Development Bank, which was started by BRICS, the economic coalition of Brazil, Russia, China, and India and South Africa. Quote, the US dollar will continue to be a leading world currency, but it will no longer be the dominant world currency. And this is what I'm talking about. So it's just a matter of how much it's going to be degraded or devalued, diminished, whichever one of those words is expedient to use. It says earlier this month, former House Speaker Paul Ryan said the greenback's position as the world's reserve currency was in jeopardy as the U.S. government accumulates massive amounts of debt. So the debt is another thing we've been talking about that people tell me, don't worry about the debt. It doesn't mean anything. I believe otherwise. You have other esteemed individuals saying the same. It says, according to the former Wisconsin representative, and this is why so many entities and people are stacking gold and silver to protect their value. Hey, it says, according to the former Wisconsin representative, the country is barreling toward a debt crisis. I agree with that. One that could negatively impact the dollar status as the world's most dominant reserve currency. Quote, so we have these leaders who are saying, I am not going to do anything to stop a debt crisis in this country. That's strange. And, from a lot of activity, it looks like they just don't care. It says, and we know we have a debt crisis coming. I'm going to stop there. Very, very good article. It's on dailyhodl.com if you want to read the rest of that for yourself. Okay. We're going to go here to this article on cointelegraph.com, and it is titled, U.S. regulatory clarity has begun in court after Ripple win. This is from the CFTC commissioner. And it says here, CFTC Commissioner Caroline Pham says recent court opinions around digital assets and securities are a first step to crypto regulatory clarity, which is going to be major. Caroline Pham, friend of Stellar, by the way, one of 5 commissioners of the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, I'll say that one of the most active commissioners, believes the path to the United States crypto regulatory clarity has been laid out following Ripple's partial victory. Speaking on Bloomberg TV on July 17, Commissioner Pham said recent big court decisions regarding the classification of crypto assets will eventually lead to regulatory clarity. So it's not long. Not long. Wait until you see what happens when we have full-blown regulatory clarity across the crypto sphere. Holy smokes. Hold on to your blazers, folks. Could raise. A lot of things could raise. Says, quote, last year I said that we were going to see regulatory clarity first in the courts around the definition of a security. And I think we've seen that with some very big court opinions that have been released. Pham said that she was looking forward to participating in regulatory working groups and hoped other United States regulators, such as the Securities and Exchange Commission, my word, will work together. They don't play well with others. To come up with a holistic approach, quote unquote, to crypto regulation. Pham's comments come a few days after San Francisco fintech firm Ripple absolutely demolished the SEC. I'm actually I'm paraphrasing. Of course, I'm paraphrasing. Okay, so we're going to move to another article here. Let's end off here. We're going to end off here. I had a BRICS Nation article here, but maybe I'll just post that one in the members only section. So this article is from kitco.com, and it's a little bit of gold news, which you saw. I'm pretty sure you saw that a lot of nations have begun buying gold again. A few of them started selling a little bit of gold. They sold a little bit of gold, and they saw how delicious those prices were getting. They had to start buying again. I love gold. I just do. I can't help it. It says here, gold prices pushed to 6-week high as expectations grow for Fed rate hike pause. I'm never worried about gold at all. Wait until you see what happens if those banks go down. Holy smokes, gold is going to skyrocket. It did before. It'll do it again. But that's if those banks go down. I think that they're going down. They're going down in an earlier round. Still going down, swing it. You ever? Do you people remember that song? It's an oldie, but a goodie. Anyway, stay serious. We're going to end the video now. Let's get through it. It says here, growing expectations that the Federal Reserve will end its tightening cycle after next week's monetary policy decision is providing new momentum for gold market as prices test another important resistance point. Gold prices have pushed to a 7-week high, with August gold futures currently trading at $1,979 an ounce, up 1.2% on the day. According to some market analysts, this could be the start of a new push to $2,000 an ounce gold. Give it to me. Oh, yeah, I'll take it. This is Julia Cordova, founder of Cordova Trades. But we're still looking pretty. You remember where it was when we got in deep last year? We was buying up all that gold. Remember how low the price was then? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyway, continuing on here, it says Julia Cordova, founder of CordovaTrades.com, said that gold's price action is forming a technical bull flag pattern, and a weekly close above $1,973 would be a breakout move. She added that the next resistance level to watch would be around $2,017 and $2,020. She said that this level could be tested as early as next week. Could be. Like I said, I'm never worried about gold. Whether it goes up or a little bit down doesn't make a difference right now. Long term, it's looking beautiful. If you've seen the catalyst, if you kept up with the catalyst we're following, oh, it's looking good. So especially with certain nations' activities. Says James Stanley, market strategist at StoneX, said that the gold bulls are in complete control of the market. He added that he is also watching the $2,000 level closely. Quote, it might take another day or two, but the momentum and sentiment are there, unquote, he said. So now that you have that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, let's get to the money.